Hello and welcome to Connect. I'm your host, Randy Shabilo. Today we'll talk with Charles Renny in the automotive industry happening in 2020. What are the trends? As well as Todd Brandt talking about the Juno Awards coming to Saskatoon March 15th in 2020. And as always, we'd like to connect with you.
Tweet us at connect_YXZ. Follow us on Facebook to watch new and past interviews, or email connectyxz@gmail.com with any future guest or topic suggestions.
Charles Renny, the famous automotive journalist, is back in Canada. We've invited him back to talk a little bit about 2020 automobiles, what's on the horizon, and a little bit of history. Charles, thanks for taking the offer to come back.
I'm not sure about that now after that build-up, but thanks, Randy. Thanks for calling me, and let's have some fun.
I want to talk about a little bit about the vision for what's happening in 2020 with the automotive industry. We've had a bit of a slump in sales. Things are coming back. What's hot and what's not in cars and trucks?
Well, what's hot and what people are buying don't necessarily match up. Ford made 8 out of 10 on the hot list, as in most stolen vehicles in Canada. And what people are buying tends to be more hybrids, smaller cars, SUVs, to the point where Ford has quit making, or is going to quit making, almost all cars except the Mustang and the Focus RS. They're all going to be SUVs. All of them are going to be available as hybrids and or electric vehicles. They're bringing out more electric vehicles. It's just sort of a free-for-all. The market trend is towards eco-friendly vehicles. At one time we thought that was diesel, and the Europeans bet heavily on diesel. Then Volkswagen got caught cheating, and 19 billion euros later, we're now heading into the Japanese formula, which is electric vehicles. There's more and more charging stations around. It's getting easier. You're no longer someone who buys a electric vehicle is no longer sort of on the bleeding edge of technology. They're getting to be the leading edge because they're getting more and more practical. That doesn't mean there aren't still some issues that have to be solved, but that's where we're heading, including electric trucks.
Talk a little bit about that.
I knew you were going to. Elon Musk stood up and showed us the Techno truck. He made some claims that have yet to be substantiated. As far as I know, there have been no tests done with this vehicle on public roads. Right at the moment, it doesn't meet U.S. highway standards. A couple of the picky points that were most obvious is they have tires sticking outside the wheel wells. That's not allowed. It's got to be covered from the top of the tire back, and it has no exterior rear view mirrors, which, whether you use electronic cameras or not, the law says the mirrors have to be there. Now, that doesn't mean he hasn't driven it, because there's a video of him, or someone, hopefully, from Tesla, driving away from a nightclub in LA after the LA Auto Show. And it seems that he hit a tire barrier, not a tire barrier, his tire hit a barrier and knocked some of the cones over. So that may indicate some visibility problems in the vehicle.
What you mentioned diesel. Diesel prices about $1.28 a liter versus gas at $1.07. If those efficiencies, does that tend to put pressure on trucks for towing and things like that, or is there a move for towing capacities on trucks, for example?
Yes, there is. I can't remember the numbers. This is why I'm hesitating. But right now, RV haulers are just as important as what we would consider a work truck. If you are buying a 3500 series, and it doesn't matter what it is, it's about an even split between the luxury ones that go to town or to Florida to the ones that are hauling the cow trailer off to the auction. Sometimes it's both. But there are a lot of those, and of course those are very heavy duty trucks. If it sounds funny, they're heavy duty, light duty trucks. They're not Class 8 tractor units and things like that. And those guys have different tax breaks and different requirements for emissions and everything because they are such, I'm going to say over 8,600 pounds GVW. So the rules are different for them. So those are popular. Half tons, huge market. It's actually one of the most profitable marketplaces to be in. And that's why we've seen a resurgence with Nissan, with its Frontier. Well, excuse me, it's the new Titan.
Right.
And we have Toyota with the Tundra. And then, of course, we have the big three. There's some Europeans that are looking at trucks because they have the platforms, Mercedes-Benz being one. They right now just bring in Sprinter vans, but they're a truck in the fact that they'll tow up to 10,000 pounds if you get the big one, and they'll carry 5,000 pounds inside. So you can't count them out. It's a profitable market, which brings us back to Elon Musk saying that he's going to build and sell his truck for between $39,000 and $69,000. US, of course. We're all in US dollars on this.
Right.
I'm not an actuary and I'm not an accountant, but those who are have done some reverse accounting and figure that Ford's stripper truck and GM stripper truck and the Dodge stripper truck, but they're giving Ford the advantage of a better production line, basically, are saying that they can't make one for much less than $39,000. So they don't know how Musk is going to do this, pulling the engines out and putting battery packs in and everything else. He's not going to have the carrying capacity. He's not going to have the range that he was claiming. But who knows? 3 years from now, there might be a battery technology breakthrough and he meets all his targets. And he's talking about the $69,000 one being able to do the equivalent of work of about a $90,000 or $95,000 regular truck. I think that there may be some price creep on that top end truck because, again, the numbers don't work at present.
Talk a little bit about sports cars. If we have a little bit of the Japanese market, the Germans, Europeans, and now with Saskatoon with Alfa Romeo and Maserati, it's a different ball game here on the prairies. Are we seeing a shift to muscle cars, sports cars, or just quick and nimble sedans? What's happening there?
Oh, all of the above. There are people that love an Alfa Romeo. I won't buy one because I wouldn't have a license long if I did, but I love the Alfa 4C. It was just, when I drove that at the Chelsea Proving Grounds a couple of years ago, I got in that car and that was my car. He's dynamite to get me out. So there's that aspect of it. There will always be some of those sold. Nimble SUVs, yes. Any performance in handling, yes. It's all good. Unfortunately, with that nimbleness comes added expense. The 16-inch tires are now $18, $19, and $20, and they've gone from $195 to $395 ad infinitum. They lost some of their off-roading ability, so that the farthest a lot of these should go off-road is their driveway. If you're serious about off-roading, there's a separate stream of vehicles for that. Cars, baby boomers have discovered, starting about 1984, how comfortable a vehicle is with a slightly higher driving position. So vans, all-wheel drive vans, SUVs, large, small. Actually, I believe the smallest size SUV is now the fastest selling segment in Canada. It used to be the small cars, now it's the small SUVs. Mid-size SUVs are right behind it. I think between the two of them, they account for just about 35% of the Canadian marketplace. That's phenomenal for something that didn't exist 15 years ago.
Right. You mentioned a little while ago about classic cars. There was a show in Southern California.
Yeah.
We had a couple of pictures to share with the public about that. Talk a little bit about the car show that you were at there.
Okay, it's what intrigued me about the car show itself, first off, is that it's very similar to the Dragons car show here. All the money taken in goes to a charity function. In this case, it's the Dr. George Memorial Car Show, and it's held at the Indian Wells Tennis, and I want to say club, but it's not club. I think they call it Tennis Gardens. And it's $5 to park your car, which goes to the Indian Wells group, and it's $5 a head to get into the car show. The cars are on the grass, and there's 1,000 of them. You will see muscle cars. One of the 6 or 8 Hemi darts from 1965 that Chrysler built was there. There was also a Cheetah, of which GM built 50 worldwide. There was a Nolan, there was a Lamborghini, there was Pantera. There was a 61 Plymouth Fury that my dad used to have, except that the only thing I recognized was the roofline. Then there was an MGA with a, it had a supercharger on it. That little 3 main bearing crank holding up to 150 horsepower, not for long. And they had trucks. They had big mudders, they had Mexican hoppers, they had everything. This was a fantastic car show. And given the access of Palm Springs to vehicles and a facility like being able to spread 1,000 cars over a couple hundred acres, they've raised about $5 or $6 million in 16 years. The Dragons have been going 50 years and are coming 60 years, 60th anniversary for the Dragons this year, and they're going to have 200 and some cars. They're phenomenal shows and they're well aligned. And I intend to be at the Dragons Car Show, and I will be at the Dr. George Show again this year too.
You're an everywhere guy when it comes to cars. I'm glad to see that.
Well,
you're not losing your step.
No, there's toys. Where there's toys, I'm going to be.
So, just take us out with what we can expect maybe for the first half of 2020 in terms of the projections for sales. Do you think Saskatoon and Saskatchewan will see a large uptake in vehicle sales?
Well,
with what's out there?
I hate to be a pessimist, and I think the selection of vehicles has never been larger, and the dealers are working harder than ever to get you to buy. But there's still a lot of crop out in the field. One of my buddies didn't finish harvesting until about a week ago. And like he said, it is what it is. He says, I'll get some money out of it. But I'm pretty sure he's not going to go buy a new truck. He's got commitments he's got to meet. There are guys that didn't seed. So when we say that 85 or 90% of the crop is in the bin, well, there's probably 15% that wasn't seeded in the first place. So money might be a little tight this winter and this spring. Watch grain prices. Yes, I know grain or farming only directly affects about 30% of our economy, but don't forget mining has had a big slowdown. Oil is under pressure. I can't see economically the boom that we hope that's there. I hope we maintain status quo and sales are the same as last year. And if you can eke out a gain, more power to you.
That's what we need to hear. Charles, I want to thank you again for coming by and shedding some light on the future of automotive trends in our city in Saskatchewan, and wish you luck down in your travels in Southern California.
Yeah. Well, here's hoping the predictions are right, because I'd like to be right once in a while. And yes, I do intend to have a little bit of fun in Southern California for the winter holiday.
Right on. We'll see you again. Stay with us. We'll be right back.